Hey everybody, this is Math Done Right, and today I'm going to be talking about absolute value equations. So I'm just going to start off by giving an example. If I have the absolute value of x equals 3, so what does that really mean? Okay, well that means if I draw my number line, that the distance between 0 and x is 3. So if I draw my number line and plot the point 0, let's say I go 3 units this way, I can get to x. So this is 3 units. But I said distance, right? So what if I go backwards 3 units? 1, 2, 3. I go 3 units this way. Well, that would give me negative x, right? So I get two equations here. I get x equals 3 if I go 3 units this way. But it also gives me that negative x is also 3, or equivalently that x is negative 3. These are the two equations I really care about, right? And now I can see if I do the absolute value of 3, I get 3. If I do the absolute value of negative 3, I also get 3. Okay, so that's what happens when I have an absolute value equation. Now, when you're solving an absolute value equation, there's some general steps that you want to take in order to do that. So the first step is going to be to isolate the absolute value. And so what I mean by that is that I want to get the absolute value by itself on one side of the equation and just numbers on the other side. So for here I have the absolute value of blah equals a. And anything can be from blah. It can be like an x plus 2. It could be a 17x minus 5. It doesn't matter. I need the absolute value on one side and a number on the other. Now, once I do that, I can go on to step 2, create two equations. That's going to give me that blah equals positive a or blah equals negative a. And again, doesn't matter what blah is. Now, lastly, I'm going to solve for each variable in that equation. Okay, so let's look at some examples now. Okay, so let's start with an easy example. So let's look at the absolute value of x plus 2 equals 3. Now, in this example, step 1's already done. The absolute value is already isolated, right? On one side of the equation, I just have the absolute value of something. On the other side of the equation, I just have a number. Step 1, good to go. Now, I want to make my two equations. So I take the inside, x plus 2, set it equal to positive 3, and then take the same inside and set it equal to negative 3. Step 2, done. Now, step 3, solve for my variable. So, in both these equations, I'm going to subtract 2 from each side. I'm going to kind of solve this at the same time. Now, when I do that, for this first equation, I get x equals 1. And for the second equation, I get x equals negative 5. Okay, so those are my solutions. X equals negative 5 and x equals 1. Now I can go back and check. Let's do that up here. I can check both of my solutions. So I can do the absolute value of 1 plus 2 equals the absolute value of 3, which is 3. So we're good. Now, if I do the absolute value of negative 5 plus 2, that's the absolute value of negative 3, which is 3. So we're good. Both of my solutions work. Alright, now let's look at an example that's a bit harder. So let's do 3 times the absolute value of x plus 2 minus 5 equals 10. Ooh, that's a bad 10. Let's erase that and try again. Oh no, it gets rid of all my green. So let's do Control Z and let's fix that. Ah, beautiful. That's what a 10 should look like. Okay, so now we can see that my absolute value is not isolated anymore, right? I've got a bunch of crap on this side of the equation. I've got a 3 out here. I've got a minus 5. I need to use algebra to get this absolute value by itself. So the first thing I'm going to do is add 5 to both sides. And I'm going to do that on this next line. That's going to give me 3 times the absolute value of x plus 2 equals 15. And again, I'm not done because I still have this 3 out front. Now this is unwritten, but this is assumed to be 3 times the absolute value of x plus 2. And I want to undo this multiplication by dividing on both sides. Now when I do that, I get the absolute value of x plus 2 equals 5. And step 1's done. I've isolated the absolute value, and the other side I just have a number. So I can make my two equations. I get x plus 2 equals 5, and x plus 2 equals negative 5. Whatever's on the inside of the absolute value stays the same. I just make the number negative for my equations. Now I've got to solve for x. So I subtract 2, subtract 2, subtract 2. I missed a 2 right here. That's going to give me that x equals 3 and that x equals negative 7. And now you guys at home can go ahead and verify that if I plug 3 into this equation, I'll get a 10. If I plug in a negative 7 to this equation, I'll get a 10 also. Alright, well, that's all I've got for absolute value equations. I'm going to make an absolute value inequality video here soon, so make sure to check that out also. Make sure you show this to your friends who are struggling in math, maybe some teachers, your mama, your daddy, your uncle, your aunt, whoever you want to show. Yeah, so thanks for watching. I really appreciate it. Yeah, good luck. Bye.